happened, all of these backup copies, all of these audit logs are available to be modified by the malicious software. So it can construct a completely self-consistent set of records, which look absolutely fine, but just have the disadvantage of not corresponding to what actually happened. All right. So we have a demo that we worked up to show this, and we did this on various places. I did this before a congressional hearing. I did it on CNN and Fox News. But the demo looks like this. It's this simulated election between George Washington and Benedict Arnold. You put this up in front of the news anchor or congressman. You ask them to choose between George Washington and Benedict Arnold. Interesting sociology experiment. Most of them choose George Washington, but a few of them choose Benedict Arnold just to be contrary. And I might tell you afterward, after the camera's off, who chose Benedict Arnold. Anyway, you hold this election. You let 5 people vote. Let's say that the 5 of them vote for George Washington. Now you tell the voting machine that you're a poll worker and it's the end of election day, and let's print out the results of the voting. And here is the paper record that the voting machine prints out, which tallies the results. And you can see in the highlighted section that it's George Washington 2, Benedict Arnold 3. The votes were misrecorded. Actually, they were changed just after they were recorded by malicious software that we had put into the voting machine. Now, it requires some technical expertise to make this malicious software, but to actually use it doesn't need to be hard. We cooked up an easy user interface that someone could use with a little slider bar down here in the bottom to determine what fraction of the votes Benedict Arnold should get. So you could operate this, say, move the slider to 55%, which is what we did in the demo that I showed you a minute ago. And the malicious software would make sure that Benedict Arnold got at least this percentage of the vote and would flip votes as necessary to make sure that was the case. Okay, so malicious software can change the results of an election. And again, if you're a computer scientist and you think about it much at all, this should be pretty obvious. The machine will do whatever it's programmed to do, and it can be programmed to do just about anything. Second finding, that anyone with physical access to the machine or the removable memory card that's used to store the votes can install malicious code in as little as 1 minute. It takes literally about a minute of wall clock time if you're alone with the machine to insert malicious code. And this will give you an idea. On the side of the machine, there's this little metal door, and if you have a key, you can put the key in, open the door, and that gives you access. And that will give you access to the memory card, which stores the votes and so on. Now, one of the things we discovered, or that had been discovered, which we verified, is that the key that opened our machine was the exact same key that opened every single machine that was used in the states of Maryland and Georgia. In fact, as far as we can tell, every single Diebold AccuVote TS voting machine in the United States can be opened with the same key. That's not good security engineering. The lock is also easily picked. One of the graduate students in our group can consistently pick this lock in 5 seconds or less. Anyone with lock picking skill can do this, and in fact, for a while we used this lock as the first lock people should try when learning to pick locks. When you get the thing open, there's a memory card inside. This is a PCM CIA card, but slotted into it is a regular flash memory module of the sort that is commonly used in digital cameras. So we actually had a spare memory card equipment just laying around in our offices already, so it's not exotic equipment. All right. And once you get this open, all you need to do is stick in your own memory card that has the malicious software on it. There's a little red button you push down here to reboot the machine. And on the reboot, the machine will helpfully detect the malicious software on the memory card and automatically install it with no safeguards, no authentication of the code. Any code that's on that memory card in a file with a particular magic name will get read in and will overwrite either the bootloader or the operating system kernel, depending on exactly what name the attacker has given the file. So it's very easy to override this. Now, I told you about the keys, the very same key being used on all these machines. It's even worse than that. The very same key is used widely in jukeboxes to open the access or service panels on jukeboxes and in hotel minibars. This is, in fact, perhaps the most common key in the United States of any kind. well, other than those sort of straight pin things you use to lock your bathroom at home. It's very commonly used for these applications. It's very commonly used in office furniture, file cabinets, and desk drawers, and so on. And the way we discovered this is that a member of our technical staff actually looked at the key and said, "That's funny, I have one like this at home in my penny cup." It had been his desk drawer key in an old job, and he brought it in and tried it, and sure enough, it opened the machine. So that's not good. In fact, you can buy these keys by the gross on the internet. Stamped on the key is an alphanumeric code, which I'm not going to tell you. But if you were to Google that code, it would take you immediately to a place where you could buy these keys in bulk. Also not good. But it gets even worse than this. Diebold had on their website a service that let election officials buy extra keys. Now, it wasn't as bad as you might think. You and I couldn't sign up and buy extra keys this way. You had to authenticate that you were an actual, or at least assert that you were an actual election official. But Diebold helpfully put on the bottom left of this page a picture of the key. It was a high-res picture, which had a very nicely defined view of all of the teeth of the key. And an independent researcher discovered this, and they used the picture to cut keys, which they mailed to us, and they opened our machine. So just this picture, I've blacked it out here, was enough to make your own key that would open the machines, if you somehow didn't know the 6-digit alphanumeric code that was printed on the key. This is very bad. This is very bad security engineering, and it has the wonderful virtue that you don't need to be a computer scientist to understand it. All right, which is great for convincing policymakers that there actually is a problem, because we can talk all day about unchangeable encryption keys and the lack of encryption, or the use of a cyclic redundancy code for integrity checking of data and all that. It just doesn't have the impact of saying it's the same darn key you can buy on the internet. All right. Our third finding in the study was that the malicious code can spread automatically and silently from voting machine to voting machine in the form of a voting machine virus. And we made a prototype voting machine virus that would spread from voting machine to voting machine on its own once you infected one machine or one memory card. So you imagine that you have, on this slide, you have an infected voting machine up on the top and a non-infected one on the bottom. Now you're going to stick a memory card into the infected one, say, in order to program it with the ballot for a new election. So let's program the first machine with the ballot. The voting machine infects the card. Now we're going to program the second voting machine in the polling place, and the card then infects the machine. The virus would spread from machines to cards and cards to machines. And in ordinary pre- and post-election procedures, these cards would be moved from machine to machine, so an infection could spread in a real situation from one machine to a large number of machines in just one election cycle. Yes?
Just a quick question, or two quick questions. First, now these cards, do they need to be in the machine when the machine is in operation, or is this?
Yes.
Okay.
The cards do two things, well, three things maybe. They're used to program the machine before the election by copying the ballot onto the machine. They're used to hold the votes during the election and then carry the votes back to the county clerk's office for tabulation afterward. And they're used to install software updates. And because there's no authentication and very poor key to access control on the machine, a malicious person who has access to the machine can do all of those things. They can change the ballot programming, they can change the votes, they can install malicious software.
So in your earlier example,
yes,
where you put in the card with malicious code,
yes,
you then remove the card with malicious code
and you put the original card back in, yes. Okay. Right. So the infection goes into the machine. We can then take our malicious card and throw it away or take it home. And the infection will then spread from that machine. It spreads naturally from machines to cards and cards to machines. Just like a sort of old floppy disk-based DOS viruses used to do. Yeah. All right. So that's the result of our study of the Diebold system. I want to talk a little bit more about a later study. This is the California top-to-bottom study. Deborah Bowen, who's pictured in the center of this, is the Secretary of State of the state of California. So therefore, the chief election official of California.